Hi, Gail.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I am good on this Monday. Just counting down the days till April 15th.
Yeah, I'm ready to be done.
I, I'm sure you all have been extremely busy.
Yep, that's our thing. Get people to vote, teach them how to vote, make sure everybody feels they've got the information they need.
Exactly, exactly. Well, I want to introduce you first. Um, Thank you for joining. And thank you to everybody out there in IG land joining us today for Monday Meals. We are officially 8 days away from the special election. And I want to welcome my special guest for today, Gail Wallace from League of Women Voters. League of Women Voters has done uh, voter engagement and education throughout the East Bay for years. They're a nonpartisan organization strictly dedicated to informing and educating people. So I just want to thank you for being here today and everyone else. Before we get started, would you mind, just giving us a little bit of background about yourself and the amazing work that League of Women Voters has done?
Yes, and thank you for the opportunity to do that. So last year we celebrated the 100th anniversary of the local league. The National League is even a wee bit older. So we've been at this work for a long while. And I think an easy, succinct way to talk about it is with the um, header you see on our websites, which reads, Make Democracy Work. That's the heart and soul of
Mm-hmm.
the thing. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, to do that, we position ourselves first of all, and thank you for noting for people who don't know, there aren't that many organizations that stay back from endorsing or opposing candidates.
Mm-hmm.
The League is one, and the significance of that in terms of educating people is that we can be a trusted resource. So we hold forums where we are neither for nor against any of the candidates and establish a pretty rigorous procedure that gives everyone the chance to present their situation and the arguments that they want to make to the electorate. But we have a whole arm where we reach out, making sure people know what to do, how to vote, how do you get your ballot.
Mm-hmm.
When you get your ballot in the city of Oakland, what does it mean that you can use a tool called ranked choice voting? And how in the world would you possibly do that? So we have had a team, for example, that has been going out around the city, even for this special election, when requested, to make presentations to people. We have things on our website, little videos and all of that, which explain all this process. If you don't want to mail your vote in, we've got maps for all the places where you can drop your ballot off. So that type of work is our bread and butter. Thanks for giving me a chance to explain that.
Yes, and thank you. And I know one of the things that League of Women Voters is really known for is being one of the leading orgs that has done education about ranked choice voting. Um, and numerous people, even those of us, in electoral politics, a lot of people that I talk to are really unclear about how ranked choice voting works. Gail, would you mind explaining to people, the process and the importance and how ranked choice voting works?
Right. Let me give you the simple particulars. One, the first thing which I think a lot of people forget is that we count the votes. And if somebody gets more than 50%, they win. We're done. Okay, so in that
Mm-hmm.
case, the fact that we have ranked choice voting doesn't change the outcome at all. You get 50% right out of the gate, you're the winner, right? It's only if that doesn't happen and nobody makes it to more than 50% of the vote that then ranked choice voting kicks in. And what happens is that we in Oakland have the opportunity to rank 5 candidates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And rank them in your order of preference. But there is often a thought Well, first of all, I should say you don't have to use it. You can put your one candidate down. That's your absolute right. And you needn't go farther down the line. Perhaps you only respect one candidate. Perhaps you only know about one candidate. That's the candidate you want to vote for him. And leave the other 4 possibilities of voting for any given position blank. But you can, if you've been to forums, if you have opinions, if you understand the policies that each of the candidates are promoting, then you rank them in the order of preference. And again, I'm going to refer people to a really simple video that you can replay over and over on our website, lwvoakland.org, because it shows you an actual mock-up, right? An actual
Mm-hmm.
fit of what your ballot looks like and how you fill in the bubbles. And there's no filling in twice in any row or any column. I think that's a simple way to put it, so that it's very clear who's your second choice, third choice, fourth choice. And then what happens is the person who gets the fewest votes drops out, and the second choices that are indicated on the ballots of those persons who voted for that last place candidate as their first choice, they get redistributed to the other candidates. And that's how we winnow the field. But I think from the point of view, we're not going to be counting it, right?
Right.
So what you want to know as a voter is, what are the candidates saying? Whose policies do I support? Who do I like the most? Do I feel confident that other people running could also manage the job? And if so, rank them in your order of preference. You do not have to rank 5 people. You can rank 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Your choice.
That is an excellent explanation, as we have, numerous people, who are on the ballot. You don't have to pick 5 people. Pick someone that you do believe in, someone that represents your values and the values of the people that, you love and care about. And also people who are going to look out for the entire city. And prioritizing the entire city. I want to welcome Pacolia joining us today. Our ED, Oakland Rising. Thank you for being here. Also, we were just Gail was just explaining how ranked choice voting works. And the entire process. Anything that you would like to add around a ranked choice voting, or any about the special election?
Thanks. Welcome me. Well, blah, blah, blah. Thanks for welcoming me on to Monday Meals. I'm glad to be here and happy to see folks, and good to see you, Gail. So yeah, I think, this is an important election. We at Oakland Rising always want folks to assert their civic duty and vote. So if you have that ballot somewhere laying around in the mail pile, go grab it. And definitely vote. April 15th is your last day to vote, but you don't have to wait till then. And then I think, what's most important, the one question that I've gotten from my neighbors and family members is, well, do I have to vote for more than one? And I think it's a really important question, right? Because obviously people are thinking about ranking, and folks are like, well, maybe I do, or maybe I don't want to. What's the rules? And the simple way to answer that is, it's your vote. It's your vote, and you get to choose how you use it. As Gail explained, you have the ability to choose up to 5 candidates. But if you only see one that you really love and cherish, then you have the ability to make that one vote happen. And so I just wanted to say that, because it is the number one question I get from folks is, do I have to always pick 5? You don't. It's your opportunity to make sure that, again, if the first round of votes don't result in a 50% or more winner, that you still have a voice in the subsequent rounds. And so that's the way I kind of frame it for folks. And so
I'm going to add one thing in case people say, well, I don't even know who these other people are. That there have been forums all around the town, including a forum that the league did. There's another forum that Oakland side ran. There have been many other smaller forums around the city And so I don't know whether they did it this time around, but I think Oakland side listed them in the November election, all the forums. But you definitely can find the link to ours and the Oakland side one, which included, quite a wide swath of the candidates. I think ours included just about everybody except for one person who had dropped out by that point. So these are now recorded, so you can zoom through them. You can zero in and say, well, I did hear about this other person, and you can just, roll on through those recordings and get a little bit more insight as to whether or not someone gives you enough confidence to enter their name as an additional choice.
That's right.
Thank you for uplifting that up about the recorded forums. League of Women Voters did hold a really informative mayoral candidate forum, and everything has been recorded. And so if you are unsure, watch them. If your loved ones are unsure, let them know that they can go online and watch these videos as well. There are also plenty of information that's online. You want to make sure you're following credible resources for information to read up, on everyone. And with that said, there's so much happening, in the city. A lot of people don't even know who our current mayor is right now. That's sitting. There's been a lot of change in leadership, but work is still being done. We are still in the middle of a budget cycle. And the current mayor will be the person who will be responsible for approving the budget. And so, with so many things that's happening, what most folks don't understand is how the charter plays a role in all of this. Gail, would you mind telling folks about what the charter is and how it plays a role in this important decision making?
Okay, so the charter, Oakland's a charter city. That means it has the ability to write a document that we call the charter, that I'm just going to call the rules of the road as far as governance in city government. Okay, you want to know how do we elect mayors? How many city council members do we have? How long do they serve? That is all there in the charter, which has been voted on by the citizens of Oakland, by the voters of Oakland. No charter changes can be made without presenting those changes to the voters. So it's got a certain amount of gravitas, a certain amount of weight, and it's not changing all the time. So what you alluded to, Cheney, is that, we had a recall in which the former mayor was recalled. That's the first successful recall in our history. So in a certain sense, we're treading uncharted territory because we haven't had to follow these particular rules of the road before. And so what happens is that the president of the council becomes the interim temporary mayor while we organize ourselves to elect our next mayor. That person is Kevin Jenkins at the moment, who, serves on the city council, but is currently serving as the interim mayor. And he will serve until the new mayor is sworn in sometime, I would imagine, in the latter half of May. But as you alluded to, Cheney, the timing of the budget cycle isn't particularly friendly to this process because the budget has to be submitted to the city council from the mayor's office prior to the time that we are likely to swear in our next mayor. So it's fallen to Kevin Jenkins as the interim mayor and his team to be formulating the budget that the mayor's office will propose to the city council, because that's another thing that the charter provides for, which is the mayor proposes the budget to the city council and the city council decides on the budget.
And I think it's so important, Gail, what you brought up around the charter being approved by the voters. I think a lot of folks don't know that. that it has to be any kind of changes we want to make, even if they're grammar changes, that all has to go to the voters, right? And I think it brings into center stage like what the role of the mayor is, because we tend to think that the mayor is just a figurehead and has no significant role in city government. But what you just named is that the mayor is responsible for developing a budget. And I do believe charter gives a specific deadline every year that the budget has to be published, which I believe is May 1st, right?
Right, right.
So that's big. That's a massive part of the work, right? And I think that, props to folks who do go to city council meetings on a regular and follow everything. But I don't think the average Oakland resident understands that the main role of the mayor is to develop a balanced budget by May and deliver that balanced budget to the public and to city council for continued discussion and approval. And so I just want to highlight that because I think when, I came to Oakland many, 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 many moons ago, that, one of the things that I struggled to do as a resident was to just understand how the city was run. And I didn't know how to access the charter. I didn't know where to look or how to find out information. And so I had to learn through the media. And what we're finding, particularly in this year, is there's just a lot of misinformation about the role of the mayor going around town. And it's helpful to know that there is a document that definitely clarifies it, that's driven by the will of the voters.
Right. And we should say that when cities write a charter, there's a number of charter cities throughout the state of California, Oakland being one of them. People make choices what responsibilities they give to a variety of elected officials, right? And so, in fact, there's two different models of how cities tend to be run. And so it is really important to familiarize ourselves with the choices that Oakland has made in terms of allocating responsibility among all the elected officials, right? So, I mean, if you're wondering, well, who the heck are they? We got the mayor, right? We got the city attorney, we got the auditor, and we have the city council members. Did I get everybody?
You missing the city administrator.
He's not elected though, is he?
Not elected. That's true. You're absolutely.
Yeah. There's really only that limited group, and then the mayor. So then it starts to get a little more complicated. Then the mayor gets to propose who will be the city administrator, right?
Right.
And has to let the city council know who that is and get some approval. So but really in terms of the place where you touch your ballot and put somebody into an elected office, it's a limited group of people.
Very much so. So that's even more of a reason for folks to pay attention and know not only does the mayor, so city attorney we elect, just to make sure, we also elect the city council, we elect the mayor, and we elect the auditor, right? Point of right. The auditor is the person that looks over the books and makes sure we comply with general accepted accounting procedures. And so that's just something to note, right? So that role is quite important. But it is the mayor's job to hire the city administrator. Hey. Sorry, we are a dog-friendly office. So it's the mayor's job to hire a city administrator. It's also their job to hire the chief of fire, right? Oh, I love that. And then they're also their job to hire the chief of police.
Right.
So those are three very critical roles in our government that is under the purview of the mayor. Is that what I understand the charter says, Gail?
Yep.
Right?
Yep, exactly. And just to give you a sense, you could say, well, how's that different from other mayors, Well, some mayors, for example, have a little bit additional role, significant role vis-a-vis the budget, which we have not given our mayor in Oakland. So we give the mayor the opportunity to try and set policy with a budget proposal, but it is the city council that decides on the budget. And the mayor does not have what's often called a line item veto. In other words, the mayor can't say no. to any of the particular budget lines that the city council puts into the overall budget. So it's an interesting role that the mayor plays, not as complete or as decisive, let's say, as you see in some other models. But, you know, that's the way our charter is. So it's individual. It's like individual to our city. So this is what we're working with, and it's good to know exactly the outlines of the role of the mayor.
Yeah, it's almost like they're the CEO, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with veto power.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I mean,
And this is why they say that Oakland isn't really a strong mayor city, but charters can also, you know, be amended. There's a lot of things that, you know, are in our current charter that are pretty dated, you know, for the current times that we're living in.
Mm-hmm.
And so definitely, I personally think that new leadership should be looking at some revisions.
Yeah. Well, and we always are, you know, in one way or another, looking at revisions. But it is really interesting to, you know, and sometime when we get out of the heat of this election, I'm going to suggest that one of your Monday meals look back at a little timeline of Oakland, because I think if I remember the article I read all the way back last week, Oakland once had a council manager form of government, right? And so that went on for a long time. And there are trends that are not just Oakland specific, but that run through the country that cause certain shifts to a mayoral form of government, particularly for larger cities. But it might surprise people to know that a lot of the cities in California don't have a mayor per se. They have a council manager form of government. So there's a lot to talk about whenever we get around to talking. Do we like our charter the way it is? Do we see ways that we can make improvements or new laws need to be placed inside of it? But for the meanwhile, we work with what we've got, right? The rules of the road. You can't change them without everybody getting on board. So that's a mixed metaphor probably, but
no, I think it's so helpful, because I think that, like, if you don't know the rules of the road, then you can get in a lot of trouble for like not being aware. And I think that, like, again, the point of this work and the point of having Monday Meals, and thanks so much for your comment, DJ Gold Gills. Yeah, it's about breaking these very complex ideas down. And we talk about these roles in our city government as if everyone knows them and is aware of them and knows how to look stuff up. And the reality is the average person is just trying to get in and out of the house, or in and out of work, or in and out of school on a day-to-day basis, and trying to survive, right? And put a lot of faith in our electeds to do what they are asking the public to be able to do, which is to fulfill these roles. And so I think this being a critical election year for Oakland, it is important for us all to know what is the role of the mayor, right? Because if we're walking around with misinformation about that and not knowing, you know, what is true, it makes it impossible for us to do our critical thinking when we hear anything being talked about, particularly in this election cycle, right? But I think it's really important to say the mayor is the CEO without a veto power, right? That is something that most people can grasp their hands on.
Right.
But there's other pieces of what a CEO does. We know a CEO is supposed to go out there and really, you know, say, hey, this is what my city needs, or this is what my organization needs. And I think that is a really critical role of the mayor, right? To really bring people together under a vision for how to improve Oakland, how to make Oakland, you know, the city that we all love and cherish. There's a reason why, you know, 400,000 of us choose this city to be our home. If that's even a number, I think we're at like 450 or 470. I can't remember. I'm never good with those kinds of numbers, but I'm gonna get there one day. But like, there's a lot of numbers in this work, right? But I think it's also, you know, like other things that I've seen us not talk about around the role of the mayor is like they recommend policy based on that vision, right? And so if their vision is aligned with the majority of residents, then we should see policies coming. And, I'm a big policy girl. I love a good policy. And say that, like, one of the things that I want more residents to be aware of is what policies are our elected officials moving on our behalf, and are they the right policies? And I think that that's a big point of tension in our city, is we all have different ideas about what should be the top priority. If you're in deep East Oakland, folks are like, hey, this illegal dumping is a big issue and they want to see real action. And I totally agree. I'm often around East Oakland, and I see, and I've seen folks late at night dumping from their trucks, and and I have questions, right? And I don't see per se the types of actions that I would want to see our electeds to be taking. Like, I would want to see the mayor holding town halls around this with our city council and our county. It's not just an Oakland issue. It's rampant throughout all of Alameda County. How are we coming up with real solutions? And so, like, I have a really strong vision as a resident. I also really hate cleaning my sewer out every rainy day. Y'all don't know this, but I do this. I do my civic duty every rainy day. Just know I'm out in the morning clearing out the sewer in the front of my property, because I want to make sure that it's clear. I don't want to come home to a flooded driveway and other dynamics. But I have a curiosity around, like, what team in Oakland is supposed to really be doing that? And is that team resourced for all these weather changes we've been experiencing? So I would want to see and hear how our mayor is thinking about that. I've heard that from a lot of residents around the town too, is the sewers are always flooding. So
Exactly. And they need you. We want to inspire you. I think I can say we there, to make it a feedback loop for your representatives. Okay. Because, and let's tell them that, there's going to be, the budget's going to be proposed. We already said, interim Mayor Jenkins has to propose the budget. They're going to, May 1st, they're going to start talking about it. There are going to be meetings in every district around the city, led by your city council member. And you're going to have the opportunity to say, of all the things that Oakland could be doing now, we know Pecolia is going to be there with the sewers. There's going to be a ton of other people there about the potholes.
Right.
There's a handful of things that everybody can name. And I don't think there's a person in Oakland who is for potholes, right? So,
I
people
love
in the house, I have to remember to say to them, now, when you go down Park Boulevard, you want to just, like, go in the right-hand lane until you hit this landmark, and then you switch to the left-hand lane. But then before you get there, you just turn to the right again, because
I feel like it's like our Google map for 2025.
Exactly. And unfortunately, it changes with every rain. But I want to say to you that because we have this system where the formation of a budget, and it's going to be a tough one, because we're not going to get everything that everybody wants done, because there isn't enough money, period. And so they need to hear from you, and the mayor will propose things, and then people will start, in the city council talking about, well, what about this? What about that? Not this, but that. And they're going to do it based in large part on what you say to them. So the more vocal you can be, and if you just find out from your city council office, when are you having that meeting on the budget, and go and express, then they know, kind of, okay, they know we're in a tough spot. What's your priority? These are the decisions we make all the time with respect to our household budgets, right?
Good point.
Right. New shoes happening, right?
But Gail, I really want them. Can I not pay the utility bill and get the shoes? I just want to, I can be in the dark with my cute shoes.
Right. This is too complicated for you, because you don't have to tell them we need $497,036 for the potholes. You're just give them your feedback about your priorities. Then it's their job to sort it, right? And what you're going to hope is that the budget that goes to city council pretty much recognizes the feedback of the kind of things we've been talking about, the illegal dumping, the potholes. We know what the problems of Oakland are, but
Mm-hmm.
now the tough choices are going to be, how do we prioritize them? Are we really using things efficiently? Every place can get better. Every city government, every household economy can get better in terms of being smart about using resources, soliciting resources for the city, and using what we have.
Yeah. And I think that, like it is important for folks to also think there's a couple of things that I remember too about like the role that's important. You mentioned these town halls that city council is doing, but the mayor also has to do town halls. I think in the charter it said like there needs to be at least 4 public meetings that the mayor does so that residents have an opportunity to have their comments and their questions and
Mm-hmm.
concerns go directly to the mayor. I think that's a really important thing to highlight too, because we often go to city council for many things, but I think a mayor that holds those public meetings are really critical. I would love to bring up my sewer issue, but I also want to just be real. I'm also, a business major. And so I'm like, okay, revenue is down. What's our solution? How are we as Oaklanders being briefed on our responsibility to hold our small businesses down and shifting our spending practices? I know for me and for our family, we try to really, do small business more than we do, big corporations, especially ones not based in Oakland, because we've heard directly from small businesses they need our support as residents, right? And so I want to see and hear, the interim as well as any future mayor talking about how are we going to economically raise our city back to pre-pandemic levels? How are we going to get people jobs? I have a lot of friends and family who constantly apply for jobs over and over, especially here in Oakland, and they don't get hired. And so I think the other aspect of it is like, not only are you developing a budget, but you also have to demonstrate real leadership in the issues that are affecting our city, right? And one of the biggest ones is we need to think about how we're all supporting and developing the city of Oakland to be economically viable, right? And so I just want to say that because I think folks always, we always got stuff to complain about. There's also positive things to really uh, lift up too. There's visioning. I mean, I think there's strong desire and interest in seeing the Coliseum be an amazing redevelopment site for East Oakland. And that's a lot of land, y'all. Like just can we just talk about that? That's a big old plot of land that needs a lot of love and energy and all the area around Hagenberger corridor. Shout out to the small businesses that are holding it down in that area and not giving up on Oakland. But we need a mayor that's going to also address those issues too. And I know East Oakland has long been advocating for those things. So I just want to bring those pieces into it too, because I want to see more public conversations, from the mayor. Not just on city council. I think the whole city needs to be aware of these issues and having these conversations. And again, that's just being a business major and the economics of it.
Yeah,
I'm like,
no,
how?
and right. And when about the meetings in the city council districts, I think those are actually led by the mayor's team.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right,
It
you're
is.
right. I remember.
but the mandate is that they have to be held in each district.
Mm,
With the idea that you write these things into a charter to get us back to that charter thing, because you're trying to create a process. You're trying to create some ease
mm-hmm,
where you don't want somebody in one district having to truck crosswise across town. You want them to be able to meet in their district with the other
Right.
people in their district who know the problems in that district and voice them. So it's the mayor moving around by the charter mandate to each of these districts. And of course, you'll see your city council members there, and perfect opportunity to hear what your neighbors are thinking,
mm,
to voice what you're thinking, to talk about the businesses that are in your neighborhood and who need support, and all these and what kind of policies are going to make that happen.
mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
I,
All.
I I want to circle back and uplift something that Facolia said that I think is important, because a lot of majority of the public is unaware of the role of the mayor and what they're supposed to do. but also the same goes for our county leaders, our board of supervisors. Bukoya mentioned the importance of the Coliseum sale and how that will, help somewhat with revenue recovery. And a lot of people are looking at the city council and the mayor, but they don't know that these decisions are pretty much made on a county level. And another thing that I wanted to lift up is not only do we have a mayoral and a District 2 on the ballot, but there's also the sales tax initiative that's on the ballot, and some people are in support, some people aren't. Um, it could help with some recovery, but I think majority of the public, we don't trust any increases because of the things that the two of you had mentioned, potholes, trash, where's the evidence, where's the proof in the pudding that our tax dollars are being put to use for the things that are important to us residents, especially in deep east Oakland. I live in District 7, and I'm born and raised there and still live there, and have not seen any changes in over 30 years. If anything, it has decreased. And so the question is, how does city leadership even try to gain the trust of the public to put these things, on the ballot to get some support when it comes to economic recovery?
That's it's a big ball of wax. big, big gaining trust, I mean, it's interesting. I'm going to give the league a plug again here. We do a thing called pros and cons, okay, for all the ballot measures. It's the place where we do the education piece of it, because sometimes we put on the education hat, and with respect to ballot measures, sometimes we make a recommendation. But that's on our website too. So if you're just saying, what's that? What? There's an explanation of what it is, what the tax would be, who would pay it, how much it'll be, how long it'll last, and what people who are for it are saying and what people are against it are saying. That's why we call it the pros and cons. And so, if you're just scratching your head and not sure, you'll get the basic information there.
Yeah. And I think that brings up a really important point. I do feel like people struggle with where to get information that's what we consider nonpartisan, is not leaning one way or the other. And that I really appreciate the league for the pros and cons analysis. I think that's just an amazing contribution the league makes. And I do want to just say, like, this is part of giving feedback to our city government to say, how can the city government get better at giving out information too? And I think, the role of communications in city government is super important. That's also under the purview of the mayor, which is really important for us also to be aware of, right? But then I think the other thing that you bring up, Gail, is like, yeah, there's all these things being proposed, and normally, and you'll always hear this from Oakland Rising, for us to say, go to city council meetings, follow what city council is doing. I'm going to add one small caveat to that, which is also, follow us at Oakland Rising. We're doing our due diligence to try to keep people abreast and informed on the issues. But I also think it's important for us to just be aware of what the mayor is responsible for, what city council is responsible for, and to make sure that they do not only the minimum of what the charter requires, but excel beyond it, right? In these days, in these times, maybe 4 public meetings a year, maybe the town halls on the budget, maybe that's just not enough. Maybe there is more public engagement that is needed. Then that's what we have to tell our elected officials that we want, right? And I think that this is where we fundamentally believe in collaborative governance, the idea that residents and elected should be setting policy agendas, should be developing policies together, so that we are really working lockstep together to improve our city and to keep the things we love and improve on the things that we are like, this isn't so where we want it to be, right? And the sales tax is one of those policies that did come from the finance department, which is under the purview of the mayor. And this was their recommendation to address the fact that revenue is projected to continue decreasing, right? Let's just call it what it is, right? And we probably could do a Monday Meals on revenue and like what the revenue mix of Oakland is. But to keep it really short and simple, we have a lot of ballot measures that we as residents and voters have passed. That's either, hey, we're going to tax our property, which is also called a parcel tax. Because if you look at the map of Oakland, it's actually broken down by parcels of land. And so when we do a parcel tax, we are saying, I'm going to pay a little bit more for this little part of my land that I own. I'm going to give you a little bit here on that issue that is being put before the voters. That is very different than a sales tax. A sales tax is a tax that we pay on a transaction. And a transaction is, you go buy a soda, you go buy,
It's you, Pecolia, buying those shoes. That's your transaction.
Let's go on and put it in there, my shoes. It's also lunch, right? And then you got the price that the vendor is charging you, and then we pay the taxes on that. And the taxes often, one solid number that we see on the bottom of our receipt says tax, and it's a percentage. And what the sales tax is saying is we're going to increase that percentage by a little bit. In this case, on the ballot, it's a 0.5% increase to the maximum that any city across California is able to charge, right? So just wanted to explain that because I think, again, these are terms that I'm learning, we're all learning, and learning every day of the ways in which we raise revenue to pay for the things that we care about in our city and in our state. And I would also say in the country, but I don't want to go too far up because we know there's lots of opinions, particularly on the federal level. We're going to stay here at the local. And so I just want to say that this is something that came out of the mayor's office trying to really come up with solutions, knowing that our revenue wasn't going to be what we projected. Why is revenue important? Because it's what we have to spend money on, right? When we talk about libraries and parks and we talk about potholes and sewers, all of those things require resources, and those resources come from taxes. And so when we say the mayor's role is to develop a budget, they are looking at how much tax has been collected on the behalf of the city of Oakland. They're looking at our portion of taxes from the state, our portion of taxes from the county, and making a proposal of how to spend those taxes, either because they're voter approved directives, right? Pass a ballot measure, it says it has to be spent in this way. That's the restricted side of the budget that we don't really talk about because it has directives. It says it has to be spent in these certain kind of ways. But the other side is like, hey, here's just a whole bunch of money. Every year you figure out how we're going to spend it. And that's called the general purpose side of the budget. And so I just want to break that down when we say the mayor, the role is so important in developing the budget. It's because they're really trying to figure out how to stay in compliance and align with what voters said we wanted money to be spent on, the restricted side of the budget. And then also, what should we do with this general purpose side of the budget that can be spent on anything, right? Like arts and culture, which is a big thing. We've had so many cultural events canceled here in Oakland because we eliminated the cultural arts program. And so that had an impact in event organizers being able to do those things. So this is what we say when we go to the town halls. We're saying this is your opportunity as a resident, as a voter, to assert your opinion about whether you agree with the proposed budget and making sure that you understand it. And if you don't, advocating for that breakdown, advocating for that information to come from City Hall so that you do understand and you can make sure the things you care about are being spent some way, somehow in either side of the budget.
Right. And people will differ, and there will be part of the reason that people will vote differently on this ballot measure, which, by the way, can be put forward at a special election because that's what the charter says, right? So
That trusty charter.
but some people will say you need to manage your money more efficiently. Some people will say you need to refinance this portion of the Oakland budget. Some people will say you need to go bang the drum about Oakland and get more resources in here. Some people will say we need to ask people to pay more money. And how people feel the balance of those different ways to up the actual revenue we have to allocate to things will determine about how they're feeling at any given moment in voting on this measure, because those are, I think, the three pressure points, right? Mm-hmm. Use the money you have better, be as efficient, with your audits and with your calculations as possible, so there's no loose money, floating around, bring in more business, support the businesses that we have here to generate more revenue, and or put on parcel taxes and other taxes, sales taxes, to raise the revenue. It's always about trying to balance the burden with the services that we want. And an evaluation, I think this is the trust thing that Cheney was talking about. It's our evaluation of how are our electeds doing. Really, it's like with anybody else in your life. I think you're going to be more open to arguments that we need to contribute a little bit more, depending on how you feel about how the money that's in the system is being utilized, how projects are being prioritized. So all that means is to have your voice, you've got to be informed. You've got to know, you've got to have an opinion. And there's just a lot of great opposing editorials and articles and positions, so never fear that you can't find out at least what people are saying on each side, however you come down.
That's real. Well, I'm excited to see folks get more educated. I don't know about you, Cheney, but that just makes me excited.
Oh, I'm definitely excited and encouraged even by some of the comments that we have. Um, yeah, shout out to Gold Gills, who said there's a lot of food for thought, from this Monday Meals. And with that said, I hope people learned a lot today. Gail dropped a lot of knowledge. I learned a lot. And so we want to make sure that you all are equipped as possible when going to the polls or returning your ballots. Early voting did start this Saturday. And so you can drop that ballot off today or go to the polls today. And so I want to thank both of you for your time. Again, thank you so much
For the
for.
opportunity.
Hmm?
Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. Look forward to it. Would love to have you again. And Pacoya, thank you for joining us on your lunch today.
I know none of y'all was eating.
I'm that way right now.
I gotta get better. I never have any food prepared for Monday Meals, which goes against everything that Monday Meals is about. Not just educating people, but we're supposed to be, eating. And in closing, being that we just celebrated Oakland Restaurant Week, share where is your favorite place to eat in Oakland?
Oh my God. I haven't been out to eat for 100 years, I feel like.
You got to do your part.
I'm going to work on that one.
We got to get the revenue up.
Yeah.
That's our contribution.
It is.
To.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to buy her a pastrami sandwich somewhere about a few months ago. We still got to do that.
After election season. Well, I'm going to shout out Willows and Pine because they're one of my favorite restaurants coming up. I love any kind of soul food, but Willows and Pine has been at the top of our list, and so shout out to them. And then I gotta say Everett and Jones, because who doesn't love some good barbecue? Shout out for that brisket. That's my friend. Me and that brisket, we gotta We got a thing going on.
I'm going to shout out Rocky's Market on Lemert because I'm a bit of a grazer. It's within walking distance of my house. So if I need a soup, if I need a sandwich, if I just need a yogurt, and stretch my legs, that's where I head.
That's a
Awesome.
great.
I am going to shout out Wise Choice, the letter YS. Black woman, Oakland native, owned a restaurant. They're actually about to open a new location. I don't know the street yet, but follow them on Instagram. Some of the best soul and comfort food. I usually have to go take a nap afterwards,
I
which
was
is
say,
fine. And I also want to shout out Lunchbox over here on Franklin and 15th, where I usually go get my sandwiches and salads from. I'll probably go there today. And one more place I like to go to is Fresh and Best over on Alice Street, right off of 14th. Still housed next door to the Malonga Center. They have the best banh mi sandwiches and smoothies. I can go on and on. I love to eat, and majority of my spending is with local small businesses. So shout out to all of our
Right.
restaurants and small businesses that just celebrated Restaurant Week.
And
And Solely Vegan
didn't
is
Prescott
coming back.
Market just open up? Didn't Prescott Market just open up?
Yes,
I've gotten
they
there.
did.
I
They did.
Yep.
Thank you for the reminder. I have to go visit there. And Solely Vegan is coming back as well. They are reopening in a few weeks over in Jack London.
oh man,
So
I'm too excited. I need my vegan catfish.
yes, I am super excited. I can't wait. We'll have to do a staff lunch there or something soon. So thank you all for joining. Thanks again for your time, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their week. Go have some
Thank
lunch.
thank you very much.
I'm on it.
All right.
Bye, all.
Bye.